Good morning, students. I wish that all of you are fine. Students, I'm continuing with the same chapter, the expansion of British power. And in last video, we have learnt about British expansion under Lord Wellesley, and we have learnt about subsidiary alliance. Now our next topic is British expansion during 1805 to 1848, which was a very important time. Students, this period saw a rapid expansion of British power not only in India but in Southeast Asia also. The British conquered Java and Sumatra from Dutch, which were Indonesian islands. They also occupied Singapore and Sarawak, which were Malaysian states, and these victories established their supremacy in the region and helped them control the Southeast Asian trade. The kingdoms of Nepal and Burma were also defeated, and British extended their influence up to River Satluj. In 1843, British annexed Sindh. You can see boundaries of Sindh here in this map, right? Sindh was very close to Punjab. Now next was annexation of Punjab. Now amongst the few Indian kingdoms that remained independent was Punjab. It was ruled by Maharaja Ranjit Singh. He was on friendly terms with British. He had built a strong army, equipped and trained like European forces. As long as he was alive, the British did not interfere in affairs of kingdoms. After the death of Maharaja Ranjit Singh in 1839, there was a struggle for power. And the other three sons of Maharaja Ranjit Singh were dead. In 1843, Dalip Singh, son of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, he was the fourth son of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, he succeeded to the throne. And British defeated him and annexed Punjab in 1849. And Punjab was also very important region at that time, which was annexed by Britishers. So our next topic is expansion under Lord Dalhousie. So the final wave of annexations occurred under Lord Dalhousie, who was the Governor General from 1848 to 1856. So he devised a policy called Doctrine of Lapse. And according to this doctrine, if the ruler or of a protected state or dependent state or a state who accepted subsidiary alliance died without a natural heir, his state would automatically lapse or pass to British company. In simple words, if a king died without a son or a male heir, his territory would be annexed by British. Many kingdoms were annexed under this doctrine like Satara, Sambalpur, Udaipur, Nagpur, and most important Jhansi. We all know about Rani of Jhansi, that she died during a fight against British. So why she was against British? Because her adopted son was not considered as a successor of her territory, and British wanted to annex her territory. That's why she was against British, right? So next is annexation of Awadh. So British, they were annexing different kingdoms for different purposes, or you can say that by different excuses. Now next, the turn of Awadh. Awadh was also a state who accepted subsidiary alliance, right? So Dalhousie, he annexed Awadh was on pretext of misgovernment, right? Nawab Wajid Ali Shah of Awadh was accused of misrule and reluctance to introduce reforms. He annexed Awadh in 1856. This created a lot of unrest among Indian soldiers in British Army, as most of them came from Awadh, right? So they revolted against the British, that you will read in the next chapter, right? Now next topic is structure of administration. Now once the British started annexing territories in India, they realized that they would have to enforce a proper system of administration to control the conquered regions. So they formulated policies to govern these territories, right? So the welfare of the common people was never a priority for them. Through this system, they wanted to increase its profits from trade, right? They wanted to increase the profitability of the territories it held in India, and they want to strengthen its hold over India. So the British, they divided the territories they held in India into provinces, and three of these provinces were Bengal, Bombay, and Madras, and they were called presidencies. Each presidency was administered by a governor, with Governor General acting as overall head, right? So as we know that there were three presidencies, and these presidencies was administered by a governor, right? And Governor General, he was responsible for all the presidencies. The district was looked after by a collector, and he supervised revenue collection and overall administration of the district. And the day-to-day administration was carried out by four agencies: the civil service for general administration, the army to protect the territories the British held in India, the police to maintain law and order and ensure peace, and the judiciary to dispense justice. Now first of all, we'll be learning about civil service. We know that now, you know na, people give IES exam and PCS exam to be in these services, right? So Lord Cornwallis started the civil service to effectively administer the company's territories in India, right? He introduced strict regulations for officials, raised their salaries, and made seniority the basis of promotions. Actually, he wanted to end the corruption, right? That's why he increased the salaries and made seniority the basis of promotions. To train young servants, Lord Wellesley set up Fort William College at Calcutta in 1801, right? So the East India College in England was another institution which trained the young recruits. Till 1853, the civil servants were nominated by the directors of the company, but after 1853, civil servants began to be selected through a competitive examination, and it was difficult for Indians to get selected in this exam. This was because the examination was held in London, and very few Indians could afford the cost of travel. Next is the medium of expression was English, which was a foreign language to Indians, right? And the third, that maximum age of competing was very low. So now next is army. The British army needed a large army to conquer more territories, to protect British territories from their rivals, to protect the trading interest of the company, and suppress internal revolts against the British. So the army comprised Indian soldiers who were called sepoys, right? Sepoys was the anglicized version of Hindi word sipahi. So a large number of them were originally farmers, and the Indians were very keen to join the company's army as it was a very prestigious occupation at that time, right? So the British Army was well trained and disciplined force. The sepoys were very loyal to their British masters. How they were very conscious of their caste and religion, and they revolted because they were very you can say that conscious for their religion. So they revolted against Britishers in 1857. That you will be learning in the upcoming chapters. Okay, students, under administration we have covered two things: civil service and army, and the police and judiciary will be covering in next video with with a fast recapitulation of whole chapter. Okay, so God bless you all. Have a good day.